Good afternoon, Facebook friends, for the Friday, June the 4th edition of the Jack and Bill Show, live from the rising metropolis of Shreveport, Louisiana. S&P 500, Bill, this week was kind of back and forth, seeing more of the same story. The S&P 500 total return up about 12.3% through yesterday, and strength coming into the close today. Let's see. Up just shy of 1% the last I looked. Yes, S&P up 37 points, or call it like 0.92%. So we're now up about 13.2 or 13.3% year to date. Let's see. Stocks were up across the board. The NASDAQ was up more than that. Growth stocks beating value today, Bill. This is a trend that's been back and forth. Year to date, value has been winning this battle or this war. Russell 2000 up a smidgen, 0.4%. Crude oil, West Texas Intermediate, getting very close to the $70 level. Closing at 69.43, up 62 cents a barrel. Call it roughly 1%. Bond market up sharply today after being very weak, year to date. The 10-year closing up strong at 1.55%, still very unattractive on a yield basis to us. The 30-year at 2.24%. Up sharply in price, down in yield. The reason for this is weak job numbers. Now, you wouldn't get that by looking at the news today, but the estimate for May jobs was 675,000 new jobs estimated to be created, and we came in at 559,000 jobs. The unemployment rate did fall from 5.9. Was it 5.9? Might have been 6.1. I don't remember. It fell to 5.8%. We're considered at full employment at around 5. I mean, coming into the pandemic, we were all the way down to about 3.5. But part of the reason for that is 160,000 people have left the workforce. So let's see. So the bond market strong again today, but still, you look at a very large, popular investment grade bond fund like Dodge and Cox Income, Bill, and it's down 1.4% on a year to date basis. The Barclays Ag was down 3.37% in the first quarter. So if you've been in high quality bonds this year, you've really, lost money. Now, our bonds, our bond holdings are probably up on a year-to-date basis, maybe 4 or 5%. And you want more information, send us a question or give us a phone call. So let's see. Gold was up over 1% today, getting back to the $1,900 level at $1,893. Silver up 1.5%, $27.90. Again, stocks up. This was the story that you told me this morning when I walked in. Bad news was good news. Bad news, bad economic news, good news for the stock market. And I guess that's mostly centered on Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve, meaning they're not going to have to tighten things and raise interest rates and make every American's credit card interest rate go higher and mortgage loan numbers and things like that.
Easy money.
So, Bill, it looks like in this market that stock market fundamentals don't really matter anymore in some areas of the market. Were we going to talk about this today? And memes, stonks.
Meme stonks. Not a typical topic for a couple of middle-aged guys. Or one middle-aged guy.
Is that you?
Yeah, I'm the middle-aged guy. But we're seeing a lot of media coverage surrounding meme stonks. What's a stonk? Okay, well, stonk is the misspelling of the word stock, And that misspelling kind of took hold, and before you know it, it became an internet meme. So
What's
meme,
a meme stock?
well, a meme stock. These are stocks of companies. There's a handful of them that have been struggling, and they are the target of short squeeze by small traders who are colluding on social media. And there's a couple of names, that have been gaining a lot of attention in recent months. One is GameStop, and one is AMC. And really, what's happening here is that the social media community, has been united together. We can call it colluding, to attack short sellers. So what happens is, if a company is struggling, and if investors believe that the price of the stock will be trending lower, not higher, they can take a short position on that stock. And mechanically, how that works is that they would go to the broker dealer. The broker dealer would provide. The broker dealer would buy the stock shares, provide that to the investor. The investor would sell those shares. So they are, in effect, selling shares that are owned by someone else, in this case, the broker dealer, and they will be paying interest while that stock is being short sold. And so they're going to be making money if the price declines in value. That's what short selling does. And so it's a way to express a view if that view is anything other than up. And there's nothing wrong with short selling. Short sellers, actually do provide a benefit, but there is this, popular narrative that short selling is evil. It goes against American values, but really it does not. And the thing about short selling is that, that type of activity does aid in price discovery. You need to have people on both sides of the trade. And oftentimes these short sellers are very sophisticated institutional investors. They're putting a lot of research into a name, and they're finding things that most people are not finding. They can sniff out fraud. That often occurs. They'll sniff out fraud long before the rest of the market does. So there is a useful function to short selling, and they're taking a lot of risk. When you short sell a stock, your loss is theoretically unlimited, because the price of that stock could be going in the other direction, to the moon, right? So you're on the hook for those losses. And at some point, you could get squeezed out. So if the stock moves against your short position and it's going up and you've got a short position, as those losses are building and building, the pain gets too much, and you close out your position. And in doing so, you buy it back.
That's right, Bill. Some of the that's a very bullish signal.
Can be.
Oftentimes, when you've got when many of the high percentage of the S&P 500 or NASDAQ stocks are shorted, provided that the stocks don't go to zero
bankrupt,
or go away, because if let's just say, for example, that 40% of the shares issued and outstanding are shorted, and then the stock starts experiencing wonderful fundamentals, well, those short positions are closed out with buy tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and many of those are done with leverage. In fact, I think to short a stock, you have to have a margin account.
That's correct.
So when that turns around, these shorted stocks can move in a hurry, which there are some very sophisticated investors. All they do is short, and some of them have learned some very difficult lessons.
Absolutely. And so really, I think this really goes back to, let's just take GameStop. GameStop, drew so much attention, and it started, with a group of people on social media who didn't like that, GameStop was heavily shorted, And that information is publicly available, so you can look at the short interest outstanding on any publicly traded stock. And they had an emotional tie to the company. Hey, here's a company that we've been shopping at for years and years growing up, buying games there, and we love this company. We don't want it to be punished by these evil short sellers. And so people rallied together and they started buying the stock and also using options and driving up the price. And it got so ridiculous that, this arguably is a $10 stock, talking about GameStop. And it started the year at $20 a share, January the 1st. And by the end of January, it had spiked to almost $500. Okay. Way, way above what anything could be justified, looking at fundamentals. And everyone knows it. Everyone knew it at that time, and everyone still knows what was going on. But it caused these short sellers to have to close their positions because the unrealized losses were building up too much, and that just added to the stock price movement, and the momentum kept feeding on itself. But that was about a 3-month round trip. So it started the year at $20, spiked at almost $500, and within 3 months of the beginning of the year, it was back down to $40.
So why didn't you buy any of that, Bill?
Well, hindsight's 2020. But the main reason is that this is not the type of investing that we do here. And that's a very good question, Jack. And before I get into that, let me mention another name. AMC. AMC right now is the next target by this crowd that's doing this. It almost failed last year because of the COVID pandemic. Started the year at $2 a share. In May, end of May 24th, it was at $12. And this week it spiked to about $70 a share.
72 and change.
72 and
I
change.
recall watching Fox Business and listening to a well-known analyst at a major Wall Street firm who had just written like a 30-page research report on AMC saying that the stock was worth $1 and that it would likely fail. That was less than 6 months ago.
Okay. So it begs the question, why would anyone invest in this name? Especially, when something is as lofty as this has been this week. And if you have analysts saying that this stock is worth $1, why would anyone buy in at $50, $60, $70 a share?
First off, it's this is not mainstream. This is it's you use the word collusion when you started talking, and collusion is really meant to be illegal, when associated with investing in the stock market. I don't know. Maybe there's some ways that it's not, but so you've got a group of gamblers or speculators who all come together as one, and they found a way to exploit highly shorted stocks and make money from it. Now, we're not really, as you said, we're not really interested. We don't swim in this fishbowl because I'll tell you this too. There's some in there that know what they're doing, but in my opinion, the majority of those people, if you would look at the time-weighted return of the stock and then look at the dollar-weighted return of the stock, you'd find the time-weighted returns of these meme stocks to be much higher because a lot of the foolish people get in at the last minute.
Well, that's right.
And then they ride it to nothing.
But the main thing is that, these are names that are so heavily manipulated. Why would you want to invest in something that is subject to such drastic manipulation?
I think there's a part two to what the main theme here is that here's a truth. On a long-term basis, every common stock will ultimately trade at prices based upon earnings and fundamentals. So in other words, you can mark our words. AMC at some point in the future will trade back down to its intrinsic value,
Sure.
and so will GameStop. And in both of these cases, uh, the intrinsic values are far less than where they're trading right now. So we would just like to issue a helpful warning if any of our viewers own these stocks to just be very careful. In fact, I would recommend employing some kind of a stop loss that would limit your
Mhm.
loss, even though that won't necessarily work.
Well,
You
we
know,
keep saying that there's no fundamental basis for the market prices of either of these names. Okay, I mean that's a given.
the one thing I would add to that about AMC, I think GameStop may have done the same thing. They're issuing. They announced yesterday. I guess this thing hasn't been done yet. They're
No,
doing a
they did
sec.
it.
Pardon?
They did it.
They did it. Okay.
They did
They
it.
did a secondary stock offering yesterday. I see the stock was down 7% today. So that's a very smart move by the company, because where there was a concern about ongoing concern issue, will they be a corporately traded entity, 5 years from now? That was
invest seriously.
Yeah, and we would say, with the S&P 500 up 13% year to date, we've kind of had what I would call a bifurcated market. And there are bifurcations that, still exist with things like, cyclical stocks versus growth stocks. Look at who would have thought probably one of the best paired trades this year would have been to here you could make a meme stonk out of this. Short Tesla, although Tesla is a favorite among a lot of these people. Short Tesla and buy Ford or GM. Ford, I remember buying Ford not long ago at $4 and change. And I think it went down a little bit today as the growth stocks won the battle today. But Ford has run up to something like 15 or 16%. And we've said all along, doesn't make sense paying 200 times earnings for Tesla, a car company, when don't you think that Ford and GM, which have been around forever, can figure out how to make electric vehicles?
Well, they have, and Ford has beaten Tesla to the punch, with a production-ready electric truck. And it actually looks nice.
Yeah.
And the pre-orders are off the charts. So it's going to do terrific. Hey, here's another one that I'm sure has caught everyone off guard. Who would have thought that non-green energy would be the hottest sector in the Biden administration so far?
There's some interesting things to look at in this space. I was talking with a friend, though, because we're heavily exposed to energy, and it has rocked this year. And but we're seeing, like at ExxonMobil, for example, we're seeing activism on the board, and they've got two and now a third person winning seats on the board. And they're going to be moving away from carbon-based fuels and making capital expenditures into, wind, hydroelectric power, whatever, away from natural gas and oil. So we'll see. I'll
tell you what we'll see. We'll see $100 oil.
Yeah, exactly. Oil. West Texas Intermediate, Bill, now that you mentioned that, see, our viewers would probably be surprised to know that some of them already know this, but crude oil is up 42% this year, not counting today. It was up another percent. Crude oil is up 43% this year. Natural gas is up 20% this year. The Dow Jones Commodity Index is up 22.5%. We may vary a little bit on this. I don't think that the inflation that we're seeing is transitory. I think it's permanent, and it may get worse, especially with the job numbers that we saw today, weak job numbers today. Not really what the market was looking for.
No. This will be a topic for another day, Jack, but I'll just throw this in here. We're still seeing inflation data move up, but we are seeing manufacturing data go down, which if that continues, that's a sign of stagflation. But
absolutely.
I digress. But yes, with rising commodity prices, it won't be long before West stops making fun of my small truck.
Okay.
My gas efficient small truck.
Okay, man. Well, let's talk sporting news for the weekend. Do you know, Bill, this is amazing for our viewers that live around here. An hour east down I-20, you have Ruston, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And guess what's going on at Ruston right now as we speak? Yes. Actually, if you jump in your car right now you could catch the second half of the NC State Alabama game being played in Ruston.
What are we doing here
right now? And later tonight, 16th seed, number 1 seed in the Ruston region, Louisiana Tech will take on 4 seed in the region, Rider. I don't know if it's Rider College or Rider University from New Jersey. So that's pretty amazing, though. The Bulldogs from Ruston are ranked 16th in the nation and got to host an NCAA regional. And I'm not sure if they win this regional, if they get to stay here or not. But for all the LSU fans out there, LSU is playing Gonzaga tonight in Eugene, Oregon, where the Oregon Ducks are hosting, that regional. And being the track fan that I am, I have to mention this too, because the LSU Tigers, both men and women, are ranked number 1 in NCAA D1 track and field as we go into the final national championships being held at the new $300 million Oregon Duck track and field venue in Eugene, where the LSU baseball is playing, team is playing tonight. So that gets underway on Wednesday. The men are overwhelming favorites, and the women, any one of, Bill, among the top 6 teams in the nation in the women, 5 of them are SEC schools. And any one of those schools, in my opinion, that has the ladies that execute the best will come out on top. So, but I think it's probably going to come down to the mile relay. And I think the LSU men and women are going to win. LSU's baseball coach, Paul Maneri, just won his 1500th game, and he's
forced to retire.
Forced to retire is what I think. He resigned, but I think he's been forced out. But anyway, drive over to Louisiana Tech and watch the Bulldogs. We may not have this opportunity again for a long time. And we'll try to find something interesting for you next Friday as well.
Oh, this wasn't interesting.
It is rather interesting.
Wes is shaking his head no. It's a little interesting.
If you have any questions, give us a call or give us a comment. We'll get back to you.
Have a good weekend.